And do you see yourselves as Jehovah God's spokespeople on earth?
That, I think, would seem to be quite presumptuous to say that we are the only spokesperson that God is using. The scriptures clearly show that someone can act in harmony with God's Spirit in giving comfort and help.
What is going on YouTube?
What is up, y'all? We are back again.
And we have a very special video today. And this is directed more toward people that might be still Jehovah's Witnesses and are just curious. And we were just thinking about what it was like when we were witnesses. And, you know, we 100% believed it was the truth, right? Mm-hmm. We did. And it took a lot for us to even attempt to look at a YouTube video because we always told, like, man, it's apostate stuff. And we were scared. Like, all of us were all scared. That's something we all talk about, how shook we were.
Yes.
And a lot of us were curious, but we just didn't have the courage to actually look for ourselves. So what we did, this isn't us making stuff up. We don't have our own literature. This is just us showing clips of things that go on in the organization, and not just us speaking, but the governing body themselves speaking and saying things in court that the organization doesn't know about within the Kingdom Halls, because they tell us about some court cases that they want us to know, but there are so many other court cases that the governing body themselves sit in, and other representatives like lawyers and Bethelites and elders, to where they say things and it's like, wait, we don't learn this at the Kingdom Hall. Like, why don't they tell us about this? So we are going to share clips. Some of us have seen them before, but some people might be new to this. And these are clips that you see, and then we'll kind of explain it and we'll drop another one. And this is a very unbiased and straight in our face type of video.
Yes, because some truths are just undeniable.
They are. And some people may try to make excuses, which that's fine. We made excuses too at some point, but we'll just drop a couple clips.
This is a serious issue for whistleblowers like Martin Hawk, who I met in May. He was so devoted to Jehovah's Witnesses that even after he walked in on another member sexually molesting his 4-year-old daughter, he didn't go to police for another 11 years. Now that he's gone public with his story, Jehovah's Witnesses have labeled him an apostate and warned other members not to engage with him. Jehovah's Witnesses are holding 6,000 conventions around the world this year with the theme Exercise Patience. Ahead of a 3-week convention that began July 14th in Redding, Berks County, members providing security received an email with pictures of Martin and Jennifer Hawk.
I learned that I was on a list, a watch list, by all the attendants or the security brothers who handle security at that convention, not to be allowed into any building.
The couple had spoken to Fox 43 earlier this year about their frustrations trying to get justice within Jehovah's Witnesses for their daughter's molestation in 2005. They eventually left and were disfellowshipped or shunned. The email warned that the Hawks, quote, are not one of us.
This is really something that is not shocking to me because I've watched the organization for decades and dealt with them in court.
According to Jehovah's Witnesses expert Rick Allen Ross, the email shows that the organization is responding defensively to whistleblowers and critical media coverage on their handling of child sex abuse.
They basically go after these whistleblowers and can disfellowship them, shun them, and punish them for speaking out. Jehovah's Witnesses should be listening to them and in an effort to try and correct what's wrong and to deal with the situation of child sexual abuse within the organization.
The email also claims the Hawks have tried to get into past conventions by, quote, mingling with the crowd upon entry, dressing and acting as if one of us. Martin Hawk says he did attend one protest outside the 2018 Reading Convention, but has never tried to enter under false pretenses.
We got permission before we even went. The police knew we were coming. The city of Reading knew we were coming. We were respectful. We didn't engage with any Jehovah's Witnesses. We didn't try to enter the building.
He says the email shows who Jehovah's Witnesses are choosing to target.
It really hurt me, you know, because again, it's their convention. They can determine who can come and who cannot. But on the other hand, when I was an elder, I was not allowed to inform the members of the congregation that there was a known child abuser in the congregation.
Jehovah's Witnesses responded to our questions about the email with this statement. Our congregants expect and value a peaceful learning environment at our conventions. To ensure the well-being of all who attend, we may at times revoke a person's privilege to attend our Bible education programs when we believe their goal is to disrupt our peaceful gathering.
This is literally so sad. And this is the thing. It's not the fact that this kind of thing happens within this organization. No, it's not that, because like we always say, people are people. So you're going to have bad apples everywhere. You're going to have things like this going on no matter what organization it is, because it happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not the point. It's the way that the organization responds to these allegations and takes control of it, because they don't. Like, they literally have all of these files of different, sexual assault cases that they have in record that they refuse to give to the police, and they don't protect their members. They don't protect people with kids. They will have a known in the Kingdom Hall, and none of the parents know about it.
No, it might be a rumor, or somebody might know, and it might come up in conversation like, I never knew that about so-and-so.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, not a known thing. And we can say from experience, our last Kingdom Hall meeting was years back, right before COVID, and it was
the one we went to together.
Yeah, we went to together. And the watchtower was on child abuse, and it was random. And we told the story before we left. They held a meeting for the brothers and said that there were some apostates outside protesting, and warned us that they're dangerous and not to look at them. Don't talk to them. Just hurry up and get to your car. And that's the image we had. Like, dang, these people are trying to harm us. Like, we thought these were these evil people. Just like on this convention, like, this is just a brother and his wife, or ex-brother and sister that were witnesses that had this situation happen with their child. And when they spoke up about it, they got removed from the congregation. And when you are in the congregation, a picture is painted as this is an evil person. And we never get the side of the story of the other person to realize, like, no, this is a genuine person that's a victim of something. But the organization has to keep a clean look and doesn't want us to go down this rabbit hole to see this is all around the world in this organization. And so just that easy, they could send these emails out and say, hey, this apostate is trying to sneak his way in and disguise himself. And that's not even the story. So that just shows how we all looked at apostates. And we mentioned before, if you Google apostate, by definition, it's a person that leaves a religion or government. It says nothing about the Kingdom Hall or Jehovah's Witnesses is that. But they made their own definition of what an apostate is.
And think about the true manipulation behind this, because just like the man said at the beginning, he said that he walked in on somebody assaulting his daughter. He walked in, he saw it with his own 2 eyes, okay? And it still took him 11 years to report it.
Exactly.
Why? It's not because he didn't want to protect his daughter. I'm sure that's not the reason why. It's because of the fear of him not being believed, and probably he was an elder. So he knows how this stuff works behind closed doors. Okay?
That's true.
He knows in that moment he was probably having flashbacks of different people that this has happened to that became apostates, and how bad, the apostate was looked at and everything. All of those flashbacks were probably going through his mind in that very moment, And so that shows how deep the manipulation is within the members, and how deep the fear is of coming out and speaking about something like this,
so true.
Because you're afraid you're going to be shunned, you're going to be kicked out of this organization. Look at how they marked him. The fact that there was pictures being sent to the attendants, like, hey, this person and his wife, they're not allowed in the conventions. They're
dangerous people. And him as an elder knows the first protocol is not to go to the police. It's to handle this in-house. All the elders know this stuff, which is why there's been over 1,000 reports that haven't been reported to the police, only to the elders.
Yes. And what's so messed up about this is we know people in our personal lives that this has happened to, and it's like They all have the same freaking story.
Yup. The person that did it probably got disfellowshipped.
Or nothing
happened. And if they did get disfellowship, they was able to come right back and do the same thing. No jail time, nothing.
And not even that. 1,000%. The organization did nothing, you know?
Yep.
A lot of times they are the ones who are going to the elders and letting them know about this situation, because that's what you're told to do, is handle it in-house, just like you were saying. So they go to the elders and see no ramifications from that. Now their child, or you know, whoever, their sister, brother, whatever, is suffering this trauma from what happened to them and what may have been happening to them for years or for months behind the scenes. Yeah. And they're the ones having to deal with all of the ramifications and the afterthoughts of that.
Along with other people, a lot of these stories is multiple victims in the congregation or around, you know, that city or town.
Yeah.
I just want him to be behind bars where he belongs.
Horrible childhood memories for a man abused by a Jehovah Witness elder. Today, that man broke his silence. Team 10 first showed you this video deposition that helped convince a judge to award the man a multi-million-dollar judgment last year. 10 News reporter Jill Little learned this is not the only case.
It took a San Diego man 30 years to finally talk about the abuse that happened at this church. The fact that he was just given $13.5 million didn't make it any easier.
It's been very hard on me.
Those are the first words 36-year-old Jose Lopez has spoken publicly about what happened to him in 1986.
It's never going to be over.
This man, Gonzalo Campos, was an elder teaching Bible study at the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses when he started abusing a then 6-year-old Jose Lopez.
I did abuse him.
That video deposition was obtained by Team 10 last year. It helped convince a judge to award Lopez $13.5 million. Ordered to pay? The Watchtower, the Jehovah's Witnesses Vatican, if you will. Lopez's attorney, Erwin Zalkin, says the Watchtower knew Campos was accused of abusing children years before Campos met Lopez. Zalkin says they swept everything under the rug.
These guys will deny and deny. They are belligerent. They are arrogant.
Jehovah's Witnesses attorneys sent 10 News this statement. Jehovah's Witnesses abhor child abuse and strive to protect children from such acts. We will seek a full review of this case on appeal. Zalkin says 6 other people have already settled sexual abuse cases with the Watchtower. There's one more lawsuit going to trial in June.
I got to tell you, I think there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of perpetrators.
For Lopez, his faith has been challenged. Campos ran to Mexico in 2010 after the heat was turned up on him.
I just want him to be behind bars where he belongs.
See, here's another one. And there's so many of these cases, especially coming to light now. And this man was awarded $13.5 million. We have to first think about the fact that the person that was abusing him was an elder.
And the elder was known for doing this before this kid came along.
This was already a pattern. So the fact that you decide to promote somebody who already has this as a history, and you know that the members are going to be recklessly trusting this person, and the members do not have any idea of what his past was, and the fact that he is a known abuser already in his history. Like, these are things that have to be taken into account, because the truth is humans repeat the same patterns.
Especially things like that, because that's not a mistake or accident.
Yes.
That's a lifestyle or a habit or a belief in this person that this is okay.
Yes.
And if you are not aware, this is one of many lawsuits. Jehovah's Witness lawsuit, just Google that and you will see the, 34 or 35 million, something like that. All over the world, people are suing this organization, which is leading up to the changes, for one. Another thing is all the members have been leaving. If you notice, the Kingdom Halls are getting smaller. It used to be to where we had 200 in attendance, things like that. And all of a sudden, we selling Kingdom Halls. We merging with more people. We used to couldn't fit 2 separate congregations in one, but now we can squeeze 2 into one. It's not clicking to the members that, wait a minute, where's everybody going? Wait a minute, why are they hassling us about donations all of a sudden?
Exactly, because that didn't used to be a thing. Like, even whenever I look back to the Kingdom Hall, I don't remember there being a ton of talks about donating and being, allowing this cause to keep going and donating to Jehovah's House. Like, I don't remember talks like that until the end, like towards the end of us going,
Yeah.
And that's whenever it like kind of first started, where they would just remind you like, hey, the contribution boxes, they're here, like this is where they're at, you can now use credit card. That's when credit cards became a thing. But now it's getting worse to where it's every assembly, every convention, there's going to be a talk in there about donation, and they will always use the woman with her last coin. Remember that? They will always use that parable in the Bible.
They do.
Basically saying like, you need to give God your last, and God is Watchtower. Why are you having to give him your last? Because they are going through all of these lawsuits that they're having to fork out money.
And look at the documentaries they have out, like the Four Corners and the Vice one on the lawsuits. Literally, they were charging them, was it $1,000 a day or $4,000 a day?
It was something crazy.
Something crazy like that. And all they had to do is turn over all the files that the elders have to the courts.
That's it.
And they refuse to, so they are being fined every day for not doing this. And this has been going on for years. But of course, another thing that they've been mentioning is apostate. I've never heard so many talks on apostasy, because the moment you get online and read this stuff, you can never unsee it. That's how it was for us. We believed it was the truth until we built up the courage to actually, all right, let me just hit search. And the stuff that pop up, you can never unsee it. And because you've never been told this stuff.
No.
And you've always been told it's lies on the internet, it's apostate, it's the devil, it's Satan. But the moment you realize, it's like, wait a minute, this is why you don't want me to see this stuff.
Yes, which is another hypocritical moment, because they will use, like in their broadcast every month and in the updates and stuff, they will use the news to their benefit, like,
True.
Oh, so and so, they just had a clip in a prior update of a woman who refused a blood transfusion, and I guess it was in her chart, but the hospital ended up giving her a blood transfusion anyway. So they put that in one of their updates, like, oh, our sister so and so ended up winning the case against this hospital, and won that lawsuit. Put out all the lawsuits that you guys are losing.
Yeah, they pick and choose, like you said, what they want to pick from the news.
Yeah.
We're allowed to look at that about Jehovah's Witnesses that may pop up in the news, but anything else that goes against Jehovah's Witnesses, don't look at it. Don't believe it.
And once again, it's not so much the action of these things happening. And I know it doesn't sound bad, because these things do happen. They happen all around the world in all organizations. It doesn't matter what group that you're in, okay? Yeah. That's why it happens in Catholics. It happens in Mormonism. All of these different religious groups, this happens.
Yeah.
But it's the way that you are handling it and trying to sweep everything under the rug and purposely working against the people that are trying to find justice for the ones who have been abused. That's where the problem lies.
It's the hiding it part. If they were vocal about these court cases and stuff, it wouldn't seem like they are trying to shield us from something. But the fact that you don't want me to see this and I see what it is, it's like, why are you hiding this?
Exactly.
This is the truth. This is supposed to be different from everything else, but it's looking just like everything else.
Exactly.
To be clear on the issue of the testimony of a child, again, what is there an age that you might define a child, compared with a youth, to make that distinction? Is there any age category or some criteria that you would use? Or
sorry, I wish I could answer your question, but I think that goes to people more qualified than I am.
Yeah, but I'm putting to you the proposition that you have one witness who you absolutely believe.
Yes.
What do you do?
Well, for the ultimate protection of that child, I could, if they feel that child and other children are in danger, I would hope that the conscience of the elders would notify the police if the parent is not willing to do that.
So you would hope that the elders would act in that way. Is there any
Yes.
Is there any instruction that they are to act in that way?
Your Honour, this is not my field. I can't tell you all the sections where we've said that. That is my understanding, but if that instruction isn't given, that's perhaps something that we need to look at.
It's the fact that he kept saying, I think that's for somebody that's more qualified than I am. For the people that don't know, he's literally a governing body member.
And for those that do know, who are Jehovah's Witnesses and may be watching this, you recognize this person.
Yes, who is more qualified than that?
We've been told besides them is Jesus, Jehovah. That's it. Jehovah, Jesus, governing body, everybody else up under them. So these are the people that get their information from Jehovah, as we've been told.
Yes, and on top of it, towards the end, they're saying, well, what would you do if there was only one witness? So, okay, you can't disfellowship the person because we all know they have the 2-witness rule, okay? Whatever. And so they have that rule, and they're saying, well, what would you do, if you really believe this person? Oh, we would really hope that the elders would take this to the police. Are you joking?
Ain't no hope. What is the protocol for this stuff?
And they're lying. They're lying on the stand. This is so hypocritical. He has the Bible sitting right there, okay, the New World Translation. If you're on the stand, I'm sure he had to take the oath over the Bible.
Right.
And you're going to sit there and lie? Because you know dang well that is not what you tell the elders to do.
At all. Otherwise, there would be a lot more police reports and less court cases.
Exactly. And you wouldn't be purposely hiding evidence and telling all of these congregations to get rid of the abuse files.
Yup. But it makes sense from the aspect of somebody that woke up. You just see these as businessmen, crooks. But as a Jehovah's Witness, you see this as this holy person that upholds standards. Not at all.
We're concerned with the congregations. We are shepherds of the congregation.
Yes, and you're not a shepherd to those who are not in the congregation.
No.
And as an organization, in your experience, you don't seek to protect or take care of children who are outside of the congregation.
That's a broad statement.
Well, I can limit it.
Yeah, limit it,
In
please.
your decision on whether or not to disfellowship someone, you don't take consideration of children outside of the congregation.
Do take consideration of them, but what ability have we got to protect every child in Australia?
Well, what you can do is you can report to the child protection authorities.
And that is done in some cases.
But generally it's not done, is it?
No.
It's not done unless there's a legal requirement for it to be done, is there?
That is true.
And like we said, this is an elder. You can watch the full Royal Commission if you haven't seen it. This is from some years back. This elder admitted himself. They asked him, are you concerned for children outside the congregation? So basically, when a pedo commits an act against a child, he's saying you just disfellowship them. Correct. So you're not concerned about children outside this kingdom hall. So basically, you are disfellowshipping somebody and just saying you did something bad. You're not welcome to associate with Jehovah's Witnesses. You can still roam around and do what you want to do when you wake up in the morning, go where you want to go, but you can't talk to people at the hall. And the man agreed, that's what we do. And he's saying, so there's no obligation. Well, we're not responsible for that. He's like, well, how about report these people? Think about when somebody like that moves to the neighborhood, everybody gets a card in the mail saying, boom, this is who this person is. This is what they did. Watch out. So you just going to disfellowship somebody, and it's not like they announced from the platform what somebody got disfellowship for. You don't know what this person did. So they are free to not only while they disfellowship do the same thing, they are free to get reinstated and pick up right where they left off. Nobody is thinking, hey, this person doesn't need to be free. No, there's no procedure in the organization to do that because they say we're not legally required. You're not legally required to see somebody drop their wallet and give it to them, but somebody with morals will go, hey, You dropped your wallet.
Yes, you said it right there. It's not so much about the legal obligation. How about the moral obligation from you coming from a standpoint of saying, oh, we are the truth. We are a loving brotherhood. It's not loving to be hiding certain things, especially like this, you know? Like, but just like we said before, these things are often a pattern in people. So if they do it once, oftentimes they're going to do it again.
Right.
And if you know about it, how are you not letting the parents know so that they can, it doesn't mean, you know, you have to treat them like they have leprosy, you know, if they're trying to change their lives and everything. But what it does mean is you have to be aware of what is happening. You know what I mean?
See this person at the hall only.
Yes.
Don't invite or have this person over not knowing.
And if you, even if you do see them at the hall, like if your kids are roaming around, be aware and attentive of where your child is at.
Right. Not to mention they shouldn't be at the hall at all.
Simple question. Why is it necessary when someone feels that they can no longer abide the organisation and has to dissociate? Why is it necessary to shun them? Why can't they keep having social contact with those people who happen to remain in the organisation?
Well, I'd say again, we're going to appear very repetitive. I apologise, Your Honour, but the individual can choose.
Why is it necessary for the organisation to tell all of its adherents, you must shun that person?
Because the individual has not taken the decision to no longer associate or to no longer be involved with congregation activities, which is their right. They've taken the decision to say, I'm shunning the congregation, I'm no longer a part of the congregation, I put it in writing. So the individual takes that action and we understand the implications. When someone is disfellowshipped, the congregation takes that action. So the individual does not need to put themselves in a position where they're shunned. They can walk away, they can go to another congregation. That's their personal choice. But we understand and agree with the point you're making, Your Honour.
Well, you haven't answered the point, but we'll move on.
Answer the question, Mr. Spence. You have not answered his honest question. His honest question is, why is it necessary to shun the person who disassociates? And before you answer, let me clarify one thing. The person who disassociates, both you and Mr. O'Brien have now said it, you said that they shun the organisation. They don't necessarily at all. They're talking about someone who just doesn't want to be part of it anymore. They still want to have their friends, their family, and everything else, their social network. So accept that kind of person, but who disassociates. Now, why is it necessary to have a policy that everyone else must now shun them?
Again, that's a decision the person makes because that individual
thinks that is not.
Mr. Stewart, I don't think we're going to get anywhere. I think we should.
Well, the real answer to the question is because you say the Bible says so. That's the answer, isn't it?
Yes, that's our understanding of the scriptural disfellowshipping and disassociation doctrine.
I should just say also that in relation to the point that Mr. O'Brien, you made, and Mr. Spinks as well, I think, and that's that a person can become inactive without disassociating and in that way not be shunned. Now, without going through that evidence again, I just want to say to you that that's highly contested by a lot of people as to whether that is possible. I know you say that's the case. A lot of other people say it isn't.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood, but
the simple point is, and I'll let you respond, but I'm not going to go down this path. We went down it before. The simple point is this: a person who does not want to be active in the organisation anymore, in order to avoid being shunned, must disassociate. There isn't a category of membership of inactive and nevertheless welcome.
Now, these elders are very well trained on how to act in court, because if you've been a Jehovah's Witness...
No, they're not. They sounded like idiots.
I'm sorry. Well trained on not being honest, but it didn't work.
They were like...
Exactly.
Like stuttering their way through.
If you have been a Jehovah's Witness, you know how these rules go. Mm-hmm. They purposely quote it as if the person chooses to shun the congregation.
No.
That's not, and I'm so glad that the lawyer was able to pinpoint and say, no, a person just doesn't want to be a part of this. I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore, but I still would like to talk to my mom, to my dad, to my kids, to my siblings. I would love to still have our relationship. I just don't want to be a part of the Kingdom Hall.
Exactly.
But the rules are, if a person doesn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness, whether disfellowship or disassociating, writing in a letter and saying you don't want to do this results in the same consequences as being disfellowship by the rules. And as a Jehovah's Witness, you are to shun and cut off anybody who doesn't want to be a part of this. And they danced around it to make it seem like it's your fault, and all you are doing is finding out, wait a minute, y'all lied to me.
Yes.
I don't want to do this.
Yes.
That's it.
And you know what? You can tell that Jehovah's Witnesses just live in their bubble, and that's it. Because they think that this is so normal that they were able to get up on that stand and have that much ego to not even answer the question. And to be able to completely keep repeating the same rhetoric. Like, oh, they're choosing to shun, because they say that all of the time whenever you're at the hall, you know, like this person chose no longer to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
And all they got to do was come back.
And it don't, you know, you can't be friends with somebody who is not a friend of Jehovah. That is such a normal thing for them to say. So now they're out here in the real world and they got them checking them like, why is it necessary for the congregation to shun this person that no longer has this belief? We are humans. We're allowed to evolve. We're allowed to grow. We're allowed to change our belief system.
It's that simple.
And you're telling me that with me doing that, I now no longer can speak to my mother, my grandma, my sister, my kids, my friend, my whole social network that I have been around for my entire life?
No, that's not fair.
It's not fair. And I'm so happy that they went ahead and said that to them. Like, you guys aren't answering the question.
Dancing around it and then finishing with, you do it because you believe that's in the scriptures. Yeah. Say that. And then even at the end, him focusing on the inactive thing, the loophole, because we are technically inactive, but we get labeled apostate, just depend on who's looking at it. And when you are inactive, he made a very important part. When you become inactive, yes, you wiggled the loophole, but you're not welcome. Look how you are viewed by Jehovah's Witnesses by being inactive. You're dangerous, you're spiritually weak, and people can't hang around you openly without being looked at sideways. Hey, you know that person, man, they don't come to the hall no more. They, you know, they done joined the army, or they did this military job, or whatever it is. You know, they got hair now, they got tattoos. You can't hang. You see, you're not welcome. That's the loophole. So you're still softly shunned.
I was just gonna say that you're still being shunned. You know, and even the softly shunned part, I feel like softly shunned is more reserved for if you're still attending and you're being, you know, softly shunned, like people are acting funny towards you. But no, if you're inactive, you're still shunned. You know, like people are not going to be checking up on you and stuff. No, people are not going to talk to you. Like,
that's what it is.
Well, if the elders come on the door to a former member to a member who's been inactive and sought to fade away, and says, "Well, are you still a Jehovah's Witness or not?" and the person says, "Well, no, I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness," the consequence of that will be either disfellowshipping or disassociation, won't it?
No, I don't agree with that, and not from what I've seen.
Those that have woke up or been addressed by the elders get asked one thing: do you believe that this is Jehovah's organization? If your answer is no, you are kicked out. If you tell them you don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore, you are removed. Done.
And they continue to lie.
As we see.
Or sought to fade without formally dissociating. And the elders came to visit and found them celebrating Christmas or a birthday, they would be found to be in transgression of the rules, would they not?
That is not my understanding. But again, as I said, it's not my field. That goes into policy with regard to those type of things. But from my personal experience, that's not the case.
Well, listen, you say it's not your field, but you remember the governing body which is responsible, as you've said, for the whole field, and you've been a member for 10 years, and all the committees are responsible to and accountable to the governing body.
So that is correct.
So it is your field, isn't it?
Only as far as approving the basic scriptural principle. So is there a scriptural principle that you have in mind you want to ask me about, or are you talking about policies and implementation of policies? So there is a difference there.
Yeah, and the policies are all subject to the scriptural principles, aren't they?
Yes, and if you have a question on the scriptural principle, I'm very happy to try and explain it.
And for that reason, the policies have to be approved by the governing body to ensure that they are in keeping with scriptural principles.
That's correct. But the fact that the policies at times need to be changed shows that there is leeway there.
They are so arrogant in the way that they speak. Like, oh, this is out of my scope. No, it's not. Like these policies are literally coming from you guys. Mm-hmm. And he asked a very specific question about, like, oh, if somebody was celebrating Christmas, like, what would that lead you guys to believe? We know somebody personally, Micah and Taylor. They got disfellowshipped recently because of that, okay? Because
the Instagram posts.
Their Instagram posts, celebrating Halloween and stuff. And so that's what led them to being disfellowshipped.
Come on. And it's like, they don't understand these are professionals. Mm-hmm. These lawyers, they already got the answer.
Yes.
They're going to ask you, and if you lie, they're going to make you look stupid, and they're going to bring it right back around. Oh, that's not up to me, that's above me.
Exactly.
And then they bring it back to, but you make the policies, right?
Yes.
Scripturally. But the policies are based off the scriptures, right? Yes. But
they don't understand that what lawyers' job is to fish the answer out of you. Mm-hmm. And you could tell that the governing body was not prepared at all for the Royal Commission, because they look like freaking idiots.
They do.
Oh, if you have a specific question about scripture, no,
we talking about what's going on.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, Mr. Jackson, can a branch committee publish its own manuals and guidelines in respect of judicial committee procedures for responding to allegations of child sexual abuse?
I would think it would be unusual for that to happen. Seeing it's not my field per se, I couldn't give an inclusive answer with regard to that, but as far as the general principle goes, I would expect that they would get back to the service committee on it.
Well, that may be so, but the point I was seeking to have you address was, can you understand how a woman might feel when allegations which she brings forward against a man in the congregation are considered and judged entirely by men?
Obviously I'm not a woman, so I wouldn't like to speak on their behalf, but the two of us, I'm sure, could understand from what has been expressed and believe that perhaps there would be a hesitancy there.
And can I add this to the question, because it's one of the factual circumstances we face in this hearing. Can you understand the circumstance for a woman who brings an allegation against an elder, who is a friend of the others, who must judge the truth or otherwise of the allegation? Can you understand how that person must feel?
I can try to understand it, Your Honour, yes. But again, could I ask, and again, this is not my field of activity, but as far as I understand, we have a process in place whereby a neutral member, like a circuit overseer, will be involved with such a sensitive case.
Okay, babe. So listen, I know you said at the beginning this is supposed to be unbiased and stuff. The videos itself, they're unbiased. Mm-hmm. I am biased, okay? Because they are such idiots, and he was not prepared whatsoever. Once again, for him to continually say, "Oh, even though this is not my field, this is not my field." No, he's asking specifically about the elders manual, saying, "Can these branches make their own manuals about policies and procedures?" We all know that they can't.
And the thing, they lie, not knowing. Either I don't know if they do know or they just that lost in the sauce.
Mm-hmm.
We have the answers. Everybody has the answers. We get new publications all the time. We throw out old publications all the time. Who's making the publications?
Exactly.
Who's making the manuals? Who's coming up with
Who's
new
checking
light?
off on them, you know?
Come on now.
That is your field.
It is. Jehovah has never told the congregation new light. Jehovah is telling y'all and y'all telling us.
Exactly.
Y'all come up with this stuff, but the fact that they will lie until they are able to prove them wrong.
Yes, and they brought up another great point about like if a woman comes through with an abuse case, you know, and they're saying, how do you think that the woman feels if they're being judged by nothing but men?
Yep.
And as we all know, elders can only be men. They cannot
That's
be
it.
women, okay?
Yeah.
So you really don't have a good perception of the entire picture, you know what I mean? And that's the problem. It happens not so much anymore in the judicial system, because thankfully the judicial system has like women in it now, but there's a power struggle there, not only between man and woman, but between a normal woman and an elder. So it's a title struggle as well.
Especially when he pointed out a fellow elder.
Exactly.
These elders are friends. They hang out together. They cover each other's back. I told the story multiple times about a group of elders in the congregation that were family members and allowed an elder that kept doing stuff to slide under the rug until he ended up on the news. And that's when they were forced to disfellowship him.
Yep.
So elders are known for helping each other out and sweeping stuff under the rug.
Exactly.
Now, does the governing body, or do the members of the governing body, do you see yourselves as modern day disciples, the modern day equivalent of Jesus' disciples?
We certainly hope to follow Jesus and be his disciples.
And do you see yourselves as Jehovah God's spokespeople on earth?
That, I think, would seem to be quite presumptuous to say that we are the only spokesperson that God is using. The scriptures clearly show that someone can act in harmony with God's Spirit in giving comfort and help in the congregations. But if I could just clarify a little, going back to Matthew 24, clearly Jesus said that in the last days, and if Jehovah's Witnesses believe these are the last days, there would be a slave, a group of persons who would have responsibility to care for the spiritual food. So in that respect, we view ourselves as trying to fulfill that.
They don't know how to answer a single question directly.
Oh, they know how to do it in court without throwing themselves under the rug.
No, I'm saying they're not being direct about their answer. Like, say yes or no. Oh, we would surely hope. We would blah, blah, blah. No, yes or no.
Because they know they are lying and they dead wrong. So to keep it safe in a courtroom, they're not going to say yay or nay. They're just going to dance around it.
Yeah. That literally makes them look not able to trust them. Like,
because Jehovah's Witnesses, one that hasn't been trained to lie in court, would say, yeah, the governing body, yeah, they represent Jehovah. But them as the governing body, they know they in hot water.
Exactly.
Well, they, instead of just being direct, we know the answer. The lawyers know the answer. The judge know the answer.
Everybody knows the answer, but they're trying very hard to limit their liability in any of these cases and limit fault in any of these cases, because if they would just say yes as they teach their members, then that makes them liable and it makes them guilty of all of the actions that
fall
proceed
under
after
them
this. Yeah.
because these are the ringleaders. That's simple. And there are so many other videos like XJW Critical Thinker and Lloyd Evans. So many people break down the policies that have been changed, like being changed from Watchtower to something else, to separating the governing body to where the elders are in charge of this part of the business now. So if things go wrong, we just say, oh, it was the elders. But who selects the elders? Once you get that high up, who selects these CEOs high up?
Yeah.
But they have found a way to separate themselves from the corporation.
It's crazy.
It's bad, but hopefully this reaches, somebody waking up for the first time, or, because just the way we titled this is just undeniable for you to see this, because it's not us making stuff up. We're literally showing you for yourself with your own eyes what the governing body and these brothers and sisters, these brothers are doing and saying in court, and also telling you not to watch.
Exactly. And just like I've said before, like I literally know so much more about this organization now that I'm out, because you're not looking at it anymore through rose-colored glasses.
Yep.
Like, no, you see them for who they are, instead of putting them up on a pedestal like, oh, these are the holiest people in the world. And
no,
they never...
it's not that.
No.
Yep. So this is very necessary. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. And if it's your first time, we got a whole lot of topics we didn't cover, but this is just the undeniable truth about Jehovah's Witnesses.
That's it. That's all.
That's it. Now, in the meantime, we got our Instagram at Awaken Truths IG. We at 900 plus followers on TikTok right now. We was trying to get to 1,000, so we'll be there probably within the next week, thanks to y'all. And that's at Awaken Truths LLC. What else we got for them?
We have our healing journals. We have the normal version and the PMO version for our PMO baby. And that's about it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will catch y'all in the next one.
Peace.